Whatever rocks your socks, whatever spins your top, whatever winds your watch, whatever flips your flop, whatever turns you on, whatever flies your flag, whatever bangs your gong, or whatever swings your bag. Do it often, but do it well, 'cause nobody knows and there's no way to tell when the ride ends.
Good morning. I apologize for that. I got into it with a guy on the internet. I didn't get into it. I commented on another vlogger because he'd done one of these stupid coffee shop videos. This is my favorite coffee shop. They do a really good cup of coffee for 50 baht, whatever. And I said, dude, that's not only lazy, but it has nothing to do with Thailand. Wherever you come from, I'm sure you could have gotten a cup of coffee there. You didn't have to fly all the way to Thailand for a cup of coffee. Now, for me, I've had a million cups of coffee in my life. I've been on the beach a million times in my life. Until I came here 15 months ago, I have never in my life been able to make myself a cup of coffee and drink it on the beach. Neighbors, you know, just make a cup of coffee in your kitchen, step outside your door and drink your coffee on the beach. Never been able to do that till I came here. So I thought, okay, for this morning, I'll make myself a cup of coffee and I'll bring it out here and have it on the beach with you. Listen, the name of the theme song of this show is Whatever. It is written, composed, and performed by Trevor Fisher and the Special Ones. Trevor recorded that song on his 50th birthday in his home studio. And there's a credit, of course, at the end of all of these postcards. But apparently people think I'm a schmuck who steals music, because every week people ask, hey, who did your theme song? Well, it's Trevor Fisher and the Special Ones. I'm just going to start all these now by crediting Trevor. I'm at a point, and I suppose this is success in the vlogosphere. I'm at a point where I cannot respond to all the comments. There's too many. And I used to take great joy in engaging with both positive commenters and negative. Now there's just too many, and I feel like if I start responding and then stop, if I respond to 10 comments and stop, everybody else is going to be pissed off. So I don't know how to deal with this. I have to hire a secretary or an assistant to answer my fan mail. But if I don't respond to your comment, know that I've read it. And I really appreciate your commenting. I appreciate your attention. And thank you very much for being here. Another common comment is that, Steve, aren't you afraid of needles? You walk in the sand barefoot. Aren't you afraid of needles? No. I see lots and lots of medical waste. I think that's a real nice net float down there. I would like to get that. But today, you see how there's a huge berm. I don't know if you can see this. It's about 5 feet, 6 feet tall. A cliff before you can get down. There's been a lot of erosion this year. The sea is toppling 100-year-old casuarina trees into the surf. The sea is encroaching much farther on the land this year than it has in the past, and creating these great big berms. So I'm not going to go down there and get that particular net float. But needles, no, needles don't survive the ocean. The needles don't survive the ocean for, I would guess, a day or more. Anything that delicate and small and made of metal, nothing metal survives the sea. The plastic syringe survives the sea. I see a lot of syringes. I see a lot of IV tubing and IV bags, but I've never seen a needle on this beach. Every day I see broken glass. Every day I see hunks of driftwood with big rusty nails sticking out of it. Every day I see dead pufferfish. I see anemones. I see broken concrete. I see sharp shells. Every day I have to be careful. Boy, excuse me. That's a rock Thai Buang. I love Thai Buang. Every day I have to be careful of these things. And if you want to be concerned for Steve and Steve's feet, thank you, I appreciate that. Don't worry about needles. Metal, anything metal disappears very quickly. The last thing I want to mention is that I'm today, 2 people will come and visit, 3 people will come and visit me here on Turtle Beach, which I love. Everybody is welcome to come visit on Turtle Beach and see our collection of giant concrete turtles and see Steve's cigarette lighter turtle. But you can come, you can tell me a story. Please come tell me a story about your experiences in Thailand. We will not talk about Brexit or building a wall on the American southern border or the voice, whatever that is in Australia, or the flat earth, or who killed Kennedy, or mask mandates, or vaccine mandates. Do not mention any of that because I will not engage on those topics. That's all bullshit. I don't know why we're so fascinated with that crap in the West, but you get here and you live here for a week and you realize it's crap, it's bullshit. It doesn't help you to think about that shit. It doesn't help you at all to talk about that shit. So save that crap for your Facebook profile, all right? Me and my buddy here, we don't give a rat's ass about that crap. All right, listen. Let me tell you a story. I actually have 2 today. So, excuse me. That's attractive content, isn't it? You never see Bangkok Pat snorting back phlegm. No cigarettes, by the way. What's it been? Oh, not even a week, so don't pat yourself on the back too hard, Steve. 27 days without a cigarette, and then 3 days I smoked like a fiend. Smoked 5 packs in 3 days. And, boy, I'm not even sure if this thing's been running this whole time. I hope it has. Yeah, I used to be on crew. All right, anyway. So I've mentioned before, in 1981, I was the road manager and PR officer for a guy who was walking across America to raise money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. He was an actor in the theater I'd worked in. And I had a love affair fall apart, and I went to Florida to lick my wounds and feel sorry for myself, and I did that for 3 months in Florida. And then he said, this actor called me and said, I'm putting together a project where I'm going to walk across America, 4,000 miles. You want to come and drive the support vehicle and do the PR for the walk? I said, yeah, sure. I got nothing else going on. So we did that. Excuse me. He walked for 14 months. I only stayed with him for the first 3 months. From Sacramento, west, excuse me, west to San Francisco, down to San Diego, cross I-10, as far as Lordsburg, New Mexico, 3 months, and then I left the walk and he got someone else. And I told a story once before about a priest who confessed to me his loss of faith on this walk. And that was, part of my job was finding a place for us to sleep everywhere we went. And I was in a place called Campo, California, and I'm sitting in this bar because during the day, he would walk 20 miles a day. I would drive the Jeep 20 miles a day. I would set up camp, and that'd be it. If there was no newspaper or local radio or TV for me to talk to, there was nothing to do. So I was in this bar in Campo, California, dinky little town, Southern California, dry town. And there's a pool hall bar, and I'm sitting in there in the middle of the afternoon, about 1 in the afternoon. And suddenly everybody jumps up and runs out of this bar and leaves me alone in this bar. So I go out in the parking lot, and everybody's jumping into pickup trucks, and they're shouting at me, come on, what are you doing? Come on. So I jumped in a pickup truck, and we went roaring up into the mountains, and there's all this smoke in the air, and there's all these shovels and pickaxes, and I realized we're going to go fight a forest fire. This is the volunteer fire company I've hooked up with in the bar, in the pool hall. And we get up to, good morning, what do you got? We get up to, yeah, everybody knows me. I stand out, I'm distinctive. We get up to the foothills, the mountains, and there's this fire kind of marching over these hills, and we form a line at the top of a hill, and we start digging a trench. Like 12 guys with shovels and picks, and we're digging a trench, and there's this huge fire coming at us. And I thought, this can't be right. You can't fight fires like this. And just as that fire is about to reach us, and nobody else is panicking, everybody else is just digging, cigarettes hanging out of the corner of their mouth, and they're digging trenches. And this huge plane comes over us and dumps all this water, this orange dyed water on us, full of fire retardant, God knows what kind of chemicals, bright orange, OSHA orange. And suddenly the fire's out, right? Poof, it's just out. And there's 12 guys standing there leaning on their shovels, all of us bright orange from head to foot, bright orange. So we get back in the pickups, we go back to the bar, and everybody's getting in their car to go home and shower. And the bartender says to me, where are you staying? Where are you going to get cleaned up? And I said, well, I don't know. We're camped at a rest stop on Highway 10. He said, no. You guys come and shower at my house. You spend the night at my house. So we go to this guy's house. Big old Victorian mansion falling down in ruins almost on the edge of town. Big sign out front, Campo, California, county home for unwed mothers. And I go in there, and there's this guy and his wife, and the home is provided by the county, this big old ramshackle home. And there's these 3 Mexican girls in there, about 15, 16 years old, 3 girls enormously pregnant, hugely pregnant. And this man and woman kind of taking care of them. So that night I go out on the highway, I pick up Lou where he's walking, and I make a big orange X on the ground on the highway where I pick him up, and tomorrow morning I'll drop him off on that X, and I bring him into the home for unwed mothers, and we have a great dinner, and we're sitting around, and there's no electricity, it's all lamplight, and you pump water by hand, right? And it's like real rural traditional living. And at about 8 o'clock at night, me and Lou are getting ready to go to bed, because we go to bed quite early, and we hear these motors outside. 3 big motorcycles pull up, big Harleys. Hello, Andrew. Good morning. This is Andrew. Yay! And Andrew is 91 years old, and he and his caregiver walk up and down this street every morning. I don't know how far, but he's spry as hell for 91. I'll tell you what, we should all be so lucky. So, yeah, these motorcycles pull up outside without their lights on. And these 3 big Mexican dudes, big, ugly, mean-looking Mexican dudes come in, and each one's carrying a bundle under his arm. And these bundles are wrapped up in orange packing tape, and they're all weird shapes. And I realized they are the shapes of the storage compartments underneath the seats of Harley motorcycles, and they are heroin. These 3 guys have huge bundles of heroin under their arms that they've just brought in over the border from Mexico on their Harleys. And these are the boyfriends of the 3 pregnant girls, and they turn over all this heroin to the guy who runs the county home for unwed mothers, and then they cuddle up with their darlings, and they're going to spend the night there on the living room floor with us. And so the night goes by, and one of these guys, I don't know if I can say this, the punchline of this story, it occurs to me now, I've told the whole story. I don't know if YouTube will let me say this, but I'll give it a shot. So it's about 10 o'clock at night. Everybody's asleep. Everybody has smoked and snorted themselves asleep, and I'm wide awake, right? This is the kind of social situation that keeps Steve wide awake. I'm laying there in my sleeping bag, wide awake on this floor, surrounded by drugged bikers and pregnant teenagers. And one of these guys is in the act of receiving oral sex. And we're all just laying around on this living room floor. And he's in the act of receiving sex, and he looks at me, and I'm like, and he says, "Hey man, you want a blowjob?" I said, "That's your girlfriend." He said, "She's not my girlfriend, she's just a whore." And she's there, and she looks up at me, and she smiles at me, and she winks at me, and she goes back to work. And the next morning, I got Lou up as fast as I could, and we got the hell out of there as fast as we could, and everybody else was still asleep. And we went on 20 miles a day across Highway 10. Last story, I swear to God, this is 16 minutes already. Last story, and I'll make it brief. Mesa, Arizona, same trip. I arranged an interview, a newspaper interview for Lou in the local newspaper, and we were given free rooms at any Holiday Inn. Anywhere we stopped, there was a Holiday Inn. We got a free room. And so we're going to take advantage of that and stay there about a week in Mesa, Arizona. And I would drive him out, drop him off, pick him up, come back to the Holiday Inn, drive him out, drop him off, pick him up. It was worth it to us to make the extra miles in the Jeep to have a nice, warm, comfortable place to sleep, a free breakfast, and a shower, a hot shower. So we're going to be there a week. So the article appears in the newspaper. Whoops, I'm sorry for this camera. I'm palsied. It's Bell's palsy. And at any rate, so this woman calls the paper or calls the Holiday Inn and says, "My friend and I would like to buy you young fellas dinner. We'd like to make a dinner for you, a homemade dinner, if you'll come over to my house." Guy on his motorcycle, I don't know if you can see it, he's got his dog on the motorcycle. Every morning, him and his dog tour the beach. At any rate, she says, "Yeah, how'd you like a home-cooked meal?" We said, "Yeah, we'd love a home-cooked meal." So we go out to this woman's house at the appointed hour. And it's a big house. It's a big, expensive house. Beautifully decorated, beautifully furnished. And inside are these two middle-aged women, decked out, makeup, hair, nails, clothes. It's a date. These two women assumed we were older than we were. We were in our mid-20s, and these women were in their 40s. And I think they assumed we were older than we were, because they thought this was going to be a date. So we sat around the living room having cheese and crackers and wine for, I don't know, half an hour, making very stiff, uncomfortable, awkward conversation. We finally get up to go to the dining room, and I sit down in my assigned chair in the dining room. It immediately collapses underneath me. Boom. One of these little delicate cafe chairs, right? And I'm embarrassed. Everybody laughs. Everybody laughs and howls at Steve on his ass. It breaks the tension. The ladies loosen up. Well, the last thing, at some point, we had this big meal, and the conversation was great. They were really interesting, funny women. And one of them had gone through a divorce about 6 months earlier. And she got the house, and she's alone in this great big house. And I remember at some point after we'd eaten and we were back in the living room and we're having more wine and everybody's happy now and we're about to leave. And I see her pull off her artificial eyelashes. And I knew, okay, it's not a date. They understand. We understand. It's just ships that are passing in the night. We'll never see each other again. And before I left, she said to me, "You know, funny thing about that chair, I had that chair fixed about 6 months ago. And obviously nobody sat in it since it was fixed, because it wasn't fixed. It collapsed under the first person who sat in it." She said, "You know what that means? I haven't had a dinner party in at least 6 months, and that's really weird for me. This house is built and designed to entertain. I love to entertain. I love to cook. I haven't served anybody dinner in 6 months." She says, "They don't tell you. When you get divorced, you lose all your friends." And I didn't know what she meant. until I got divorced. And I lost all my friends. A, they don't want to pick sides, right? B, all you can talk about is your divorce. All you can talk about. For me, 4 years, I had no topic of conversation other than the pain and agony of my divorce. People get sick and tired of that. And they leave you. They walk away. And I don't blame them a bit, but there is a little bit of that in the act of deciding to be an expatriate, isn't there? You lose all your friends. You're going to have to make new friends because all your friends are back in Farang land somewhere. And yeah, you can listen to them yammer on about Brexit or mask mandates or Hunter's laptop on Facebook, but that's not the same thing as friendship. And once you're here, you realize what bullshit that is, what utter bullshit all of that is, and what a waste of time it is to talk about and discuss that crap. So you lose your friends. You have to make new friends, don't you? I count you as a friend. I count him as a friend too, so don't pat yourself on the back too hard. Her! She's got eggs. It's a her. At any rate, yeah, isolation, right? You're giving up your circle of friends, going back to whenever, in my case, junior high. And you're coming here and you're making a life and you're making coffee that you can drink on the beach. First time in your life you've ever lived in a situation where you can make yourself a cup of coffee and drink that on the beach. But you got to make new friends. You better be ready to make new friends. All right, that's it. That's my time. That's way over my time. That's 21 minutes, assuming I did push the button at the beginning of this. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I love this, you guys, and I love you. Thank you so much. This is the best time of my week. Like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends, and I will see you next week. Maybe with a Boontongs video, but let's not keep our fingers crossed. Have a great week. I love you guys. A double rainbow over the sea. Oh, that's something you don't see every day. Or I don't see every day. Maybe you do. I've been putting this off and putting this off because it's just so much work. But I think the shrine is done. It'll have elements that hang in front of it. But I think now I can attach the two walls and start to dress forward on the set to eventually the street. That'll be the street, and there'll be a facade and who knows what. But that bit back there, I think, is done. I'm going to show you how I make paper mache. This is just in a corner of the studio. Bucket. These are old toilet paper and paper towel tubes that I've been collecting, maybe, I don't know, 6-8 months worth of it. Soak it for an hour. I'm gonna put it in the blender and make a slurry. So hang on while I put this camera on the tripod. All right, again, this cardboard is old toilet paper tubes and the solid cores of packing tape, paper towel rolls. That's about it. It was a bin of rolls, a bin of tubes, and it's been soaking for about, I don't know, an hour, just to get it to start its dissociation. I'm gonna add enough water to make a slurry. Hold your ears. All right. Give it a stir. Try to get the big chunks on the bottom. Kadat bun. And I don't know how much of this you can see, but we're going to pour it through cheesecloth. Can you see that? We give it a squeeze. And you're left with this lovely clay-like substance that's pure cellulose fibers. And you break it up like that. You add glue to that, and you've got a lovely paper mache clay. So yeah, it needs to dry. Now is the rainy season, extremely rainy. So it's very humid, so it takes a couple days for this to dry to the point that I want it. You want it a little bit damp so it's still flexible and it crumbles, but not so damp that it's too saturated to accept the glue. So that's a bit of fuzzy logic. When you decide you're ready to use it, you're ready to use it. This was a 6-foot long packing tube, mailing tube. And this was 2 egg cartons, just egg cartons from the Lotus. I buy my eggs 10 at a time in a cardboard carton. Always buy everything in cardboard if I can, and then I turn the cardboard into this. This is my mold. This is a toy. It was a Donatello, I think Donatello from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set. I'm kind of afraid to turn it over to show you, but this is I use it as a mold. I'm using the negative side of it as a mold. This is as far as I got with the last batch of clay. And this is the final product. It dries inside this mold. It pops right out once it's dry. You paint it, put an undercoat on it, and then you paint it. And I'm gonna get local artists. I'd like to find a bunch of different local artists to write Rak Thai Mueang right here in this band, because this band is part of the mold. It doesn't really come out. You have to use it. You have to incorporate it somehow. And so, yeah, Rak Thai Mueang. And then I'll get a bunch of them, and this will be, the turtle will be on the back of a pickup truck, and I have to somehow make a skirt. I have to dress the truck part itself that will be underneath this turtle. So I'm figuring I'm gonna make some shells and hang them, and maybe I can get some decorated by school kids, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, the Lions Club, we'll find out. But that's where we are. It all starts over there in the blender. All right, so here's how we make our paper mache dough. We have 2 cups of our shredded cardboard, half a cup of this white school glue that they sell everywhere. It's very cheap. And we just mix that up into a dough. And away we go. Now this is quite damp because I'm starting with damp cardboard. Nothing really dries well this time of year, so I just use it and wait for it. Instead of drying it in its granular state, I'll just go ahead and make the paste and let it dry in the mold. So there we go. We end up with a kind of a modeling clay. And it's just glue and cellulose fibers, just glue and cardboard. It's what all of those egg cartons and mailing tubes start life as. And I've taken it back to its beginning, and I'm just gonna push it in the mold now. Well, 310 baht. That's the best thing I've ever picked up off this beach in 15 months. 310 baht. All right. That's a couple dinners anyway. Thank you, whoever arranged that for me. Kapun patao.
Whatever shaves your sheep, whatever bakes your clam, whatever digs your peak, whatever smokes your ham, whatever blows your nose, whatever chews your bone, whatever squirts your hose, whatever sings your song. Do it often, but do it well. Nobody knows and there's no way to tell. When you're riding,